When the all-new 6th generation Honda Prelude goes on sale for the 2026 model year, it will have been 25 years since the Prelude nameplate was last sold on our shores. 25 years! And while Honda, the industry, and the automobile as a whole has changed immensely in that time frame, from the looks of things, the core ethos and identity of the Prelude remains intact. We have so much to talk about. I'm excited, you're excited, let's dive in. When you close your eyes and you imagine what a Honda Prelude looks like, I'd imagine it looks, well, something like these vintage Preludes we have right here, which in my opinion have 5 core key tenets. Coupe, 4 seats, manual transmission, 4-cylinder, and sporty. Right off the bat, the 6th generation 2026 Honda Prelude has got 4 out of 5. It's a coupe, it's got 4 seats, it's got a 4-cylinder, and it's definitely sporty. Yep, the big one is definitely missing off that list. For 2026 and going forward for the whole 6th generation Prelude, we don't have a manual transmission. In fact, this being a hybrid, a more direct drive hybrid, where the 2-liter 4-cylinder acts more as a generator for the electric motors, there's no transmission at all. Since day one, the Prelude's primary focus has been of showcasing the future of Honda's tech and not necessarily just being a larger Integra or Civic Type R. And here we are. Since we no longer have a Civic or Accord coupe, you can think of the new Prelude as neatly filling both of those holes. And I gotta say, as far as a 6th generation modern Honda Prelude goes, this is visually exactly what I think we all should have expected. I like a lot of the details here. I like the slick back profile, I like the double bubble roof, I like the wheels, and I really like those blue accented brake calipers. But if this does look a little bit more like a Civic than you might imagine, there's a good reason for that. This does share a platform with Honda's ultra popular compact, and in this case, you've got to think of it best as having the powertrain of the Civic Hybrid with the general performance-oriented platform and suspension hardware as the Type R, albeit tuned a little bit more for comfort for the Prelude. I'm not kidding about it being an adapted version of the Civic Hybrid's powertrain. We've got the same 2-liter naturally aspirated 4-cylinder augmented by 2 electric motors, in this case being a combined power output of 200 horsepower and 232 pounds-feet of torque. And like in the Civic, this 4-cylinder is more generator than not, primarily providing power to the battery and motors rather than directly driving the wheels. Yeah, probably not as much power, and certainly not the transmission some of you might have been hoping for, but Honda's banking on winning you back with the Prelude's exclusive S Plus shift mode, which introduces simulated shifts for the electric drivetrain, similar to what you find in the Hyundai Ioniq 5N. And moving on from the powertrain, I know more than a few of y'all's ears perked up when I mentioned suspension componentry from the Type R, and that is the case. For the Prelude, we've got 4-piston front Brembo brakes from the Type R. We've got a dual-axis suspension, and we've got adaptive dampers, all taken from the Type R and adapted and retuned for the Prelude. Now, looking over the Prelude's lovely interior, the slick back, lift back shape, and the little bit softer attitude, I think you can kind of think of this as a hybridized grand touring alternative to the rather hardcore Civic Type R. And moving inside, well, it's not quite Civic and it's not quite Accord. I think it's better in here than almost anything you'll find on either of those nameplates. Really got some nice stuff in here, including these Prelude exclusive seats. Really nicely upholstered with some houndstooth patterning and checkering here on the seat backs. You've got suede style material here on the dash with excellent contrast stitching. All Preludes come standard with the 10.2-inch digital driver display, 9-inch touch infotainment with Google built-in and wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, of course, wireless device charging, 8-speaker Bose sound system, and a leather-wrapped flat-bottom steering wheel. It's comfy, it's upscale, it's sporty, and it's right on the money for the Prelude badge. Fuel economy? We're not quite sure on that just yet. Honda hasn't released any figures, but considering that this is probably just as heavy or a little bit lighter than a standard Civic Hybrid, you can use the Civic's fuel economy figures as kind of a nice baseline. So in that case, that will be 50 miles per gallon city, 47 miles per gallon highway, and 49 miles per gallon combined, all EPA rated figures, which I think as a baseline for a coupe with some Type R hardware on it, it's pretty phenomenal. Pricing? Well, not yet. You're going to have to be patient, but probably not too patient, as Honda says that the Prelude will be hitting dealers sometimes later this fall. And around then is probably when I'm going to get my first crack out on the road in this thing, for which I am very excited. My overall take on the new Honda Prelude is, well, I'm intrigued, and I'm going to keep my hottest takes for after I get some seat time behind the wheel. Though for now, I have a lot more to say, but for my full thoughts, you gotta go to Cars.com/news.